one thing. If you've got more than one, that's fine, but you've got to have the one solid thing, because that will be the plan for the next speech, okay? What you're determining now is the plan to correct in the next speech, if you can. Don't say grammar, please, because you've been struggling with grammar all your life. You will continue to struggle. That's fine. Do not be critical of yourself when it comes to the grammar. Other things that you can change for your next speech. The way you stand, the way you look at your audience, the pauses, the pace, the volume, things like that. Okay, let's have maybe two to share what they could have done better. Yes, Jache. I can read it, I can't say it, I'm sorry. Okay, JC. What could you have done better, do you think?
Maybe practice my pronunciation, because I doesn't speak clearly by using English.
Okay, so you felt your pronunciation or got in the way of the communication. Is that what you're saying? That if your pronunciation is better, people will understand you better. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a tall order, but it's a worthwhile plan for, you know, for maybe not just your next speech, but for all the speeches that you happen to do. Yeah, okay, very nice. Anyone else? Yes.
Like the fluency with a lot of yeah.
I have no idea what she's saying.
Means,
No, precisely. What I mean is you are correct. You know, when you use those, no one knows what's going on. There's a technical term for ahs, and yeah babies. Okay, what is the technical term for that? Fillers. Okay, filler words, and you know, kind of fill in gaps which they're not real words. Thank you. Yes. If you do happen to be in ToastMasters at some point, either in the past or in the future, you will be exposed to this person which will count your filler words for you. So, you know, you will not just be the master of your own destiny, you will have servants along the way. That's great. Okay, very nice. Thank you. And now, the big one. You need to think about this one. What did you learn from the experience? What did you learn? A realization. Something that perhaps might change the way you play this game. I got to think of an example. But I can't. Okay. I learned that if I project myself directly to the people in front of me, they get it better than if I just memorize my words. Maybe I learned that. Maybe I've been memorizing my words all along, and today, for the first time, I dropped that and I just spoke to them. And maybe I could sense that was a better connection. So that's what I learned, that I can establish a better connection if I drop my script. Something you realized about this experience for yourself, right? Something you realized. You may have observed it in someone else, not just yourself, right? You may have observed it in someone else. You may have observed that, hey, this guy, I know this guy is shy. How come he can do what he's doing? And maybe you realize what the key was for him. I don't know what it was. Maybe you realize that on the stage, you can be bigger than, what you know here? I don't know. There's many things to realize. What did you learn? Okay.
I learned that YJK and Josephine are such encouraging people. I don't know Josephine before this. She's so encouraging. And I also learned that my life is actually more interesting than I give myself credit for, because they laugh at my story, which I didn't know is that funny. So they just try to be nice and encouraging.
So would you say you learn that there's value in your experience and when you share it?
Yes.
affects
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. When there's value in your experience, which there is and she didn't know, and you might be the same, it affects people. It affects people. Thank you. Anyone else learn something? Yes.
Okay, start. So I noticed that sharing our real experience and story will make our speech more fluent than we remember the speech.
So by fluent, do you mean it is easier to communicate?
Yeah.
The communication is easier for you to share?
Yeah.
Is it easier by telling your story? For some people, telling stories is very, 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 very difficult. Emotionally, it's a hard place to come from for some people. And you might be that person. It's okay, you know. You are special. Everyone else is very easy. Now, when you tell your story and you tell it to another human being, it's actually a very natural process. Okay? Doesn't mean you can't work on your storytelling. I'm telling you, work on storytelling, because when you're a good storyteller, you will have everybody eating out of your hands. Every single time, if you're good. But it is a natural process. Okay, thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause for that segment. The next project we call CC2. Does anyone not know what CC stands for? It stands for Competent Communicator, which is the very first level of ToastMastering when you start with the club. So you develop a few skills, actually quite a few skills, and these skills, not only are they fundamental, but they are skills that you should never abandon ever. Because should you not have any of the advanced skills, it doesn't matter really, as long as you've got your basics right. Right? We haven't learned any of those yet. Now is the first one. And this is called CC2, Competent Communicator Project number 2. Because project number 1 was the ice breaking. Okay, this one is about how to organize your speech. The single most badly done thing in public speaking is the organization of the speech. Why? I have no idea. Because it's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to learn. We're going to learn it now. And for those of you who already know it, I'm scolding you. Okay? What you need to organize your speech are two things. One, a simple structure. Yeah? Do you want a complex structure? No, we want it simple. Why simple? Well, two reasons. You got to understand it. And the other reason, they got to understand it. When your organization is understandable, guess what? Any content you have in there will probably make sense. Alright? I'm sure we can come up with content that won't make sense. But if you try hard enough, it is the organization of your speech that determines whether or not it enters or doesn't enter. Not so much the content. The organization. So you could have all the flowery language you want. All the adjectives you want. But at the end of the day, if your speech isn't, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to give you my reasons why, and I'm going to summarize those reasons. If it's not like that, you're going to lose your people very quickly. Okay, so simple structure. Second thing, a bit of this. A bit of logic to really connect the ideas. That's what you need. Are these doable?
Yeah.
Okay, if not doable, we arrange a different workshop for you. So, a simple structure, which I'm going to share with you, and a little bit of logic, which will come from you, of course, to connect the ideas. Nothing fancy, just connections. Okay. Oh, I don't have to walk so far. I have this. I've been squeezing this. So the lesson is, I learned that if you squeeze the wood, nothing happens.
Sounds so wrong.
You gotta squeeze the plastic. Yeah, it is kind of wrong, isn't it? Here's a very simple structure where you have 3 parts to your speech: the opening of it, the main body of it, and the end of it. Now, the question, of course, is, what do you put in these parts? Let's go. In the opening, your job must be to do 2 things. Number 1, what is it?
Stir.
Do you remember how I opened the stirring part? Stir your mind now. get you to start to think, maybe get a response. Do you remember how I opened it this evening? How many of you would like to be better public speakers? All right, a question asking for a response. And the question is designed to get everyone's hand up. But never mind about that. The fact is, there's stirring going on. Right? Rather than say whatever it is that I could have said about myself, blah, 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 blah. Say, how many of you want to be better public speakers? Already stirred up. Stir some more. How many of you would like to speak correctly in public? Yes. How many of you would like the easy way to do it? Yes. Okay, I don't care what the answers are. All stirred already. Okay? You follow me? Stir them. Obviously, the questions and answers must relate to them. Okay? But the point is stirring. In your opening, you stir. You can stir by asking a question. How many of you have ever fallen off your bicycle? Right? You could ask that question. Of course, proceeded with the story about how you fell off your bicycle. Or how you pushed your sister off her bicycle. That might be a nice story. Stir your audience. There are other ways to stir your audience. You could shock them. Shock them. Tell them something shocking. What did you say yours was? You were caught with your zipper down in class. Right? You're caught with your zipper down in class one day. I said shock them, I didn't say shock them, okay? My pronunciation maybe not clear. So you could shock them. You could also, if you're doing like, a presentation where maybe you don't talk about zippers and things, but you have data. Maybe you put the data there, big numbers, 24%. Just put them up, put that up as your first slide. Why? Because that's your opening statement. 24% of Malaysian women, blah, 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 blah. That means, in this room, 5 of you are these. Okay? Shock them. Maybe, can fly. 24 Malaysian women can fly. In this room, 5 of you can shock them, right? So even if you have raw data, you can still use it. But don't bore them the way people normally do. In our country, quite a lot of ladies, 24% actually. No one will know it. What's the second thing? You want to state your message. So you got a message, you state it. Tonight we are here to learn how to speak in public the easy way. That's a statement of the message, right? Tonight we are here to do da 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 da. I'm telling you what tonight's about. You tell them what your speech is about. I believe that the penguins should be saved. That's a statement. No one's going to listen to you, but that's a statement. So just a simple statement about what it's about. Not about the stories or anything. What is your speech about? Okay. So those are 2 things for the opening. Once you've done that, that's your opening. So, what's a topic we could use for an opening if we were making up a speech? Anybody? Throw one out.
Zipper.
Sorry? Zipper. Okay. It's about zippers. Maybe you work for a zipper company and you're making a sales presentation about zippers. Okay? So you could start by stirring your audience, and what might you stir them with? If your presentation goes for a whole hour, you could tell them a little story. You can say, my first memory about zippers was the time that my zipper was not up, but it was down. Our zippers, of course, will not be down up. They'll always be up for you. And now I'm going to show you how. So tonight we're going to learn how our zippers are the best zippers because they don't come down. Actually, the zipper should come down, right? If it doesn't come down, the wives are not happy. It's just the opening. The opening, you stir your audience. If you have more time, you want to warm your audience up. Okay, and that was my job when I had to introduce the world champion. I had to warm the audience up. I took 5 minutes to do the opening because he spoke for an hour. So I took 5 minutes to warm them up. Okay, now we talk about the body, the main part of the speech. You want to say why you want to talk about zippers. Alright, so today we're going to talk about zippers. Okay, that's my opening. Today we're going to talk about zippers. Today I have an opening for you. We're going to talk about zippers. And of course, the final opening. and then you say why. Why? Because do you know that 24% of Malaysian women fly when they see the zipper can open? Okay, you say why, and then you proceed to support your message, and that's where you get into the stuff that you know everything about. Right? Support the why. You give 3 points if you can. Very good to give 3 points. God only knows why, but 3 is a nice number. Somehow it's very satisfying when you deliver 3 points. First reason this, second reason this, and the last reason this. It's just very satisfying. First reason this, second reason this. Everyone's waiting for one more reason, somehow emotionally we're waiting for one more reason. Or first reason this, second reason this, third reason this, fourth reason this. Stop lah, it's too much. 3 is enough. 3 is most effective. Don't ask me to back it up, it just is. Maybe just experience, I don't know. I think in ToastMasters what they tell you 3, right? Yeah, okay. So how do you support what you say? Well, you want to give some examples of the zipper being stuck, the zipper never come, whatever. You want to give some stories. You've got one over there, right? My friend, when he was young, his zipper got stuck. Anecdotes. Anyone not familiar with what an anecdote might be? Anyone not so sure? Okay, it's good to put your hand up because then I'll explain. Anyone know what an anecdote is and what to say? What an anecdote is? You have your hand up. Or you have an anecdote is one of the above, which is a story, right? But just a really short one. So if I were to tell you the story about my circumcision when I was 2.5, I would say it like this. 2 words. Blood everywhere. That's my story. It's not a story, but it is a story. It's really what's called an anecdote. It's just really short. So, there was a time where I fell off my bike. And I don't proceed to tell the whole story, but I told you about that time. That's an anecdote. Or my dad said to me when I was 5. My mom said to me when I was 5, how would you like a new baby in the family? So I'm telling you a little bit about that story, but not the whole story, just a little bit, just to illustrate whatever point I'm trying to make. And that's an anecdote. So you don't have to tell the whole story. Why? Because the whole story will have the whole audience wishing they had a hole in their head so the story could just That's what would happen. It happens all the time. Okay, here we go. And in the conclusion, very simple, you restate what you said you were stating in the beginning. Okay? So today, we've learned everything about zippers. And that's my presentation. There's a certain sense of satisfaction when it comes to that. Restate it confidently, like you actually delivered something good. It's for their feeling, I think you should be delivering something good anyway. Okay. All right. We haven't got too much time, but I think what we need to address now for this project is, what do we speak about, right? What do I write my speech about for organize my speech? Well, anyone have a suggestion? What do you write about? Anything's the correct answer, actually. It doesn't help anybody, but it is the correct answer. Yes?
What did I learn from the last session?
If you have enough to fill a speech, certainly. I think the principle there is talk about something you know, something about. I would suggest, do you have something that you are really interested in this life, okay? Either your hobby, hopefully not your work too much, another person, all right? Maybe you've got a pet cat. I'll write about my cats. 2-minute speech, never mind. Something you're really interested in. Something you're really passionate about. Something you would like to change in the world, maybe. I don't know. Things that mean something to you. That's better than just writing about anything. Something that means something to you. So your pets mean something to you. Your sisters or brothers mean something to you. The Barisan politician means something to you. I don't know. You write about something that's meaningful to you. Okay, the penguins, doesn't matter. Something that you are keen on, right? You like gaming, write about gaming. Okay. Group leaders, pull your team into a circle and begin your 15 minutes of preparation.
Huh?
Can you take one more question?
So many ToastMasters companies because it's organizing a speeches too. And understand is very easy. Tell them what you want to tell them. Tell them what you're told. That's what I say. First introduction, tell them what you want to tell them. How do you benefit of it? Or you can talk about the cost and the field, the needs. For example, women's rights, or stop smoking, stop drinking,
You see Justin Bieber here suddenly. Have fun.
An example, maybe you might not be interested in reading, maybe you're interested in cycling, maybe you're interested in Korean stars. Yeah, interested in your father, you can talk about For example, you can talk about your travel. Maybe you have been to a country or place that you love. What are the 3 points that you want to say?
But nothing love. No problem.
Let people prepare their speeches.
I don't know.
10 minutes. Again, make it a 4-minute speech. Or thereabouts. Okay? This is about how you organize it, how clear you are in opening, how clear you are in stating your points and supporting them, how relevant the support is, what logic you use to connect your ideas and your points, and how strong your conclusion is.
Làm thôi vậy nè.
If there's a lesson you have learned in life somehow, I suppose you could talk about that. Today I learned how to ride a bicycle. Maybe you learn another lesson on top of that. Learn that life can be painful.
How do you arrange organizing speech?
You could write a speech about what I learned from my first crush. That'd be interesting. What I learned from the teacher that I love the most.
You know what? You said the title, but when you speak, you need to tell us what the title today is. Just have your area to talk.
Eight minutes. Okay, this is as long as you can understand this.
我知道，我明白的，可以理解。就是一些人，没办法。
哇！
你要拉的没有拉的，拉的这边，你拿到是没有拉的。
Get help designing your opening. All openings can be punchier with a bit of help. So get help in designing your opening. Opening should not be a ramble. It should be direct. Information that shocks or a question that stirs. Followed by your message statement. How's it going? Good enough. Is your opening good? Get help. It's got to be clear and impactful. Yeah, and get some help while there's still time. Just one more. Oh, okay. All right, I see. So, you know what could be even sexier than that? Okay, some teams have already started speaking, but there's another 4 minutes to go.
Shall we increase the time? Because you guys should speak for like 3 to 4 minutes. Since we got some extra, is it okay if I increase 4 to 5? Confidence. Okay, right? Let's welcome. Wow.
Thank you everyone. Again, I'm Wo-Hong, and today I'm going to share about pharmacists. What do pharmacists do? Okay, just to share one story with you. This happens to my friends. Okay, one of the patients, when she collected her medications at the counter, she actually asked my colleagues, and she asked, girl, you are so beautiful, why you stand here give number only? Why don't you go further your study and get higher pay? Okay, this is what Pradeep thinks about what pharmacists do. Okay, actually pharmacists are involved in 3 major areas. The first one is the government sector, and then the private sector, and also the community. Okay, the private sector, which I mentioned just now, is the industry. Okay, for industry, the pharmacists in the industry, basically they do QC about the medications, and also they involved in R&D to invent the most up-to-date medications for the current issues, such as the Ebola. Pharmacists do actively involved in evolving the medications. Okay, and then I would like to talk about community pharmacy. Community pharmacy is the one that we always see in the shops, where they open the shops and they sell those supplements and also medications. Actually, their main purpose is to fill up the prescription. That's why there's an issue about dispensing separation.
Okay. Have you actually know that other than being addiction, coffee, exercise can also be an addiction. Okay, so my addiction is actually being going to exercise for gym. Okay, if I don't exercise, at least I must sit 4 to 5 times a week. If I don't exercise, I'll feel something like a constipation, right? Okay, so why is it that I like to exercise? Exercise always cheap, outdoor. But with nowadays of society, with all the stimulus, you can see a lot of role models. So it's very motivating even more. And then
So there was a Hindi movie. Every morning he has a mirror, he'll do that.
It's like they are doing something else. So and also I choose to go to the gym also because you're not so lonely.
treadmill, then you have a row of a treadmill. Actually, a lot of people are running together with you. So I feel another motivation factor as well. Okay. Then and also that when your age are growing younger, you want to try older and you want to try to look younger. Another secret is exercise. So people actually say, yeah, we exercise is it the secret that we stay 5 years younger? So 5 is a good number at our age already, right?
My number is a bit different, already.
Yeah. So 5 meant a lot to me, okay? So, and also, when also we go to
take off his socks for me to wear, and so that he'll be punished by the headmistress in his class. He was being punished to stand outside of the classroom just because he didn't wear socks. I took it. It was at a tuition center. I slapped him so I could get my ang bao. And if I'm not mistaken, the ang bao contained 10 ringgit, so it's worth it. And the last thing that I did was I argued with him. We had a very big fight because of this relationship with a person I hate. Okay, I hate it. It's not I hate him, I hate it. So I really hate my brother a lot because he loves me too much. I hate him because he made me, I couldn't really hate him. I hate him because he made me have to love him a lot. Let me tell you why. Why did he let me wear his socks? Because I fell into the school pond and I was wet all over. It was in primary school, I had to take off my shoes to go into the class. So he offered his socks to me so I would not be punished by my teacher, but he was being punished by the headmistress. Why did he love me? He didn't know what happened when I slapped him at the tuition center to get it on file. But guess what? He didn't scold me. He didn't hit me back. He didn't take his revenge. He just let me be happy. That share his speech.
I forget the face and I lazy already. What is the time? One of the that's like time. I didn't look. 哎呀，这2 minutes 不了啊。
You can look at
Sorry, can I go try? You can speak.
Hello, ToastMaster. I am going to talk about is reading novel a waste of time. Especially for the parents, they often scold their child that why are you reading novel and doesn't study. But I think that studying novel is not a waste of time because I got 3 points from my experience because I read a lot of novel. First, I can learn more about people's personalities. Because I read 3 words. Because some authors, they are advising people into their novels and show them to us. So we can know more about people's feelings and emotion change. And the second one is to improve my language, but that is not really an obvious advantage, but it will help you to evaluate your essay, like because you get more creative in mind and then can think faster and make some good story and interesting story. So reading a lot will help me, especially for narrative story.
Definitely impacts the most our parents because we are involved by our mother, and if we just give up too much, so of course they will feel very sad. Secondly, you might lose the chance to enjoy everything which is very interesting in this world. It is not a big issue when he faces study pressure. As use me as example, because I'm studying professional certificate courses. During that time, I faces failure when I took the exam, whereby I have put in a lot of effort. By that time, I am being heavily pressurized, which caused me almost really want to go and jump evening already. But I didn't do so because my religion hold me back. As communist suicide is action, it is heavily objected by every religion.
Like me, I only have I have a brother, elder brother. So when I was young, I used to follow anything that my brother is doing. So the first thing I followed him was to go to the kindergarten. I went to the kindergarten at the age of 3 because when I was about 2 years old, I always say that why it's like my brother every day go to the school and come back. It's like it's fun. So I wanted to follow. That's why I enrolled into a kindergarten at the age of 3. And the second thing that I followed my brother was badminton. That's why how I stepped into playing badminton, because when I was about 6 years old, my brother started training, and I started to play badminton 0. And like he said, one skill for a long time. If I'm not mistaken, I learned to service for about half a year to the wall because I was very young, so it's quite difficult for me to pick up. Yeah, so my brother, when I was young, maybe until I was secondary school, we used to quarrel. And we are young, sometimes we fight with a pillow, slam the door after every quarrel. And I didn't felt that having a brother is really a good thing. We always quarrel about this, quarrel about that, and snatch this, maybe, yeah, sometimes. So, and then, until I was about Form 2, when my brother was Form 5, and after that when he went into college, and he started feeling that
the most famous night market is in Taipei region is the Shilin night market. I remember that my group member, I joined a camp in Taiwan. Then my group member, each of my group member bought one part of the food. Then we share all the food we bought in hostel. And this is a great memory for me. My third point is Taipei has a good transportation system. It is very convenient for the workers and students and even the tourists to get to the destination. And the time needed
When the time says 7:30, you have to be there on 7:30. When it says 8, you have to be there at 8. 1 second late and you have to run. Also, you have to make sure your posture is correct. One glance at everyone. Anyone who doesn't maintain the posture, you have to pump. And also, thirdly, you have to learn how to walk and to make your foot stretch every time you make a step. And if you fail to do that, another pump 10 times. After all these process, myself, if I want to escape all these punishments, I have to decide. I have to do this and that. Same to everyone. During marching, you learn to obey your
The first funeral that I ever went to was that of my grandmother. I was 16 years old, and she lived in our family, while me and my family we lived back in KL. When I walked into the house and saw her body lying in the coffin, I realized that I didn't know her at all. I was her granddaughter, but I had no idea who she was. I never had her running after me as when I was a child, or playing with me when I was a child. I hardly knew her because she just had too many grandchildren. And there was my grandfather in one corner. He was crying because he felt that he was left all alone in this world. That was the day I decided that I have to be more responsible as a granddaughter. About 2 years after that, my grandfather passed away as well. Within these 2 years, I felt that I should do something to show him love. Make my presence felt as a grandfather. I went with my father very often, about more than once a month after August, even though it was a 6 hours. I begged it and I went.
And now, I can take 10 kilograms. Thirdly, you will learn how to work as a team. Which is not about one single person. It's about one
Taiwan speech?
Because make one go and try Taiwan food, you know.
Okay.
Talking about food.
Taiwan.
Feel that we can feel that we are at Taiwan because we know the things there very detailed.
You know what I think she did difference between her and both of you was that each point she made, she gave a story. You know that? For example, the scenery, the beautiful scenery, the Taiwan night market that you talk about, you didn't just say the Taiwan food is good, but you actually brought up the story that your friends helps people to remember.